Chapter 92. This venerable one returns to Butterfly Town. The entire hall stood in shock at these words, and the Bitan Manor disciples looked as if they had been struck by lightning. In the cultivation world, average cultivators memorized spells, superior cultivators understood them, and exceptional cultivators adapted them. But far above the average, the superior, and the exceptional lay still another tier of cultivators. Those who had no need for memorization, who had long since understood, and who were unsatisfied with adaptation. Those who had grasped the final step, creation. These were the masters who refined unique pills and elixirs, the experts who crafted unparalleled arms and armor, the geniuses who drafted unprecedented spells and talismans, those whose skill commanded the title of Zhongshe. To common cultivators, these Zhongshe were little more than a name on a scroll, or perhaps a seal on a magical treasure. The young disciples from Bitan Manor never imagined that the man they had brazenly attempted to arrest and drag to Tianyan Pavilion for interrogation was one such godlike individual. Li Wuxin's forehead was covered in a sheen of cold sweat, but as the sect's leader, he had no choice but to put up a bold front and persevere. He squeezed out a smile, his waxy yellow face the color of rice hulls gleaming with grease. What a coincidence that the sigil of the returning billows was created by Chu Zhongshe himself. This one has truly underestimated Chu Zhongshe. However, while confronting the vengeful ghost of Luo Xianqian at Butterfly Town, I obtained yet another item. I wonder if this too might have some relation to Chu Zhongshe. Chuaning knitted his brows. What item? Li Wuxin waved his hand, and disciple very smart swiftly brought over a brocade box. A weapon. Chuaning gazed silently at the box for a spell. Is it a willow vine? This time, everyone's eyes, including Moran's, widened in disbelief. How did you know? Li Wuxin's voice shook as he spoke. Unless it really was you, but what's going on here? A golden light burst to life in Chuaning's palm, lengthening inch by inch until it coiled on the floor. As the glow dimmed, a length of willow vine, its delicate leaves unfurled, materialized before the onlookers. Chuaning was unfazed. By now, he was already certain that the incident at Butterfly Town was perpetrated by the same mysterious individual they'd encountered at Jincheng Lake and Peach Blossom Springs. Li Chuangshu, the weapon in the box is this one, is it not? Yes. Li Wuxin's voice sputtered and nearly gave out on him. The brocade box was opened. Inside was indeed a length of willow vine, identical to the one in Chuaning's hand in every way. Chuaning narrowed his eyes. His suspicions had already been roused when that fake Jiangui that was used to kill the people of the feathered tribe and frame Moran had appeared at Peach Blossom Springs. This confirmed them. Li Chuangshu, may I have a look? Li Wuxin mulled it over. Things weren't exactly going his way right now, and it'd be inadvisable to offend Chuaning further. After a moment's consideration, he said, Chu Zhongshe is too courteous. I'm only here to inquire about this situation in the first place. Please look all you want. Why should I refuse? I'd be only too thrilled to get your thoughts. Zhang Gongzi, for his part, was rather less than thrilled. He'd come to Xixing Peak to pick a fight and had spent a small fortune securing Bitan Manor's support. What was this damnable old fart playing at? Was he really going to switch sides after facing a little pushback? Zhang Gongzi threw pointed look after pointed look at Li Wuxin until eventually each one was an angry glare. Li Wuxin paid him no heed, but Moran noticed those looks from where he stood on the side. Zhang Gongzi, he said mockingly. Are your eyes okay? You seem to be squinting them quite a lot." Meanwhile, Chuaning had taken the willow vine from the box and was now examining it closely. Sure enough, although it was no different from Tianwen and Jiangui in appearance, its life force was exceedingly weak, far weaker than that of a holy weapon with a master. This was clearly a dead thing. Heartplug willow. Shi Mei had keen ears, and when these words reached him, he froze. "What?" "This vine and the ones used to kill the feathered tribe back at Peach Blossom Springs as well. They were all broken off the Heartplug willow." Chuaning replied. "Ah!" Shi Mei cried out in surprise. "So that's what it is?" "Before the old dragon passed at Jincheng Lake, he said the fake Gojin employed a certain spell that required a strong wood elemental spirit to maintain. It's likely that he took some branches from the holy tree before destroying Jincheng Lake. Although their spiritual power will gradually fade with the death of the holy tree, they should still be sufficient for his purposes for some time." Chuaning's slender fingers traced the golden leaves on the vine in his hand. "Even the branches that have been practically depleted of spiritual power have not gone to waste. He has used them either as false evidence to frame others, or distributed them to his puppeteered pawns as weapons." As he spoke, a flame kindled to life in his hand. He held that vine that was the mirror image of Tianwen to the fire, and it caught instantly, its blaze reflected in the shocked and stupefied eyes of the onlookers. "This is not my weapon." Chuaning let the fire lick all the way up to the tip of the branch before closing his palm around the flame, extinguishing it. He tossed the scorched willow vine aside and said mildly, "Tianwen is possessed of abundant spiritual energy. Even Samadhi true fire couldn't hope to burn it, much less an ordinary fire spell such as this." Li Wuxin opened his mouth, then closed it, but in the end he refused to back down so easily and opened it again. "I, too, have heard about this incident at Peach Blossom Springs. Word has it that Xisheng Peak's Mo Gongzi murdered the great immortal lord of the feathered tribe." "Hoi, I didn't kill anyone." Moran raised his hands defensively. Chu Chengyong, visibly displeased, was unyielding on this matter. "As I've already explained to the other sects, this was not my nephew's doing. Li Chuangshu, the next time you bring it up, I won't be so polite." His reaction seemed to stir some memory in Moran's mind. He stilled, and a flicker of something indiscernible flashed through those habitually smiling eyes. "Uncle," he muttered. "The incident at Peach Blossom Springs was a setup," said Chuaning. "The situation was chaotic, and I was afforded no opportunity to defend my disciples' innocence. But today, since Bitan Manor has come all this way seeking the truth, I will certainly tell you the whole tale." In the wavering candlelight of the lamps, Chuaning offered a concise summary of the events of Jincheng Lake and Peach Blossom Springs. By the time he finished, the disciples of Bitan Manor were stunned speechless, and Li Wuxin was sweating so profusely that his clothes were soaked through. He dithered for a while, then asked, "Does Zhu Zongshi mean to say there's someone in the world at this very moment who has mastered one of the 3 forbidden techniques, the Qianlong chess formation?" "That is correct." "But how can it be? It's a forbidden technique. Even the leader of the Rufeng sect, first in the cultivation world, would be hard-pressed to acquire the scroll for such a thing." Chuaning cut him off. "I have spoken nothing but the truth. Whether you believe it or not is up to you." "Impossible," Li Wuxin insisted, his face pale. He guffawed loudly through trembling lips, as if by doing so he could convince himself this was an unfortunate joke. "If there's really someone out there who has mastered the Qianlong chess formation, The world will be thrown into disarray. Everything in the upper and lower cultivation realms alike is in danger of being rewritten. Ex-Emperor Taxianjun was a little miffed. That guy only knows it. He hasn't mastered it. If he had, would things still be so peaceful now? Li Wuxin's whiskers quivered, and he had just opened his mouth to retort when a sword flashed in through the door. A Bitan disciple, close bloody, stumbled off it. The disciple coughed up a mouthful of blood before raising his tear-streaked face to Li Wuxin. "Zhangzhu!" he cried. "It's terrible. The barrier you erected around Butterfly Town has shattered. Vicious spirits rushed out, and my seniors used their own bodies to block the spirits' escape. But my Shishong, all 30 of them, were guarding the barrier, sacrificed themselves to hold back the ghosts. Only I was left to bring the news." He drew in deep, shuddering breaths, then raised his voice in a piteous wail. "Zhuangzhu, hurry! Notify all the sects of the upper cultivation realm. Every dead soul in that town is being controlled. It's a forbidden technique! A forbidden technique!" "What?" Li Wuxin stumbled backward into a pillar, as pale and haggard as a corpse, dumped from its coffin. "There's no way we can hold them off by ourselves." The disciple wept miserably, his tears washing the blood from his face. "Zhuangzhu!" He suddenly noticed Zhuo Chengyong and turned to grovel toward him as well. "Zhuo Changmen, I'm begging. Please come too. All of my Shishong. How can I face them?" He rambled incoherently for a few more seconds, then closed his eyes and howled at the sky in grief. They're all dead." The hall was deathly silent for a beat, then it burst into an uproar. Zhuo Chengyong was ever level-headed in the face of disaster. He immediately directed Madame Wang to send messages to the remaining 8 great sects of the upper cultivation realm and put Zhuo Meng in charge of gathering the elders. "Chuaning?" Zhuo Chengyang turned to him next. "There's no time to waste. I'll go first." "But you don't know how to ride swords." Before Chuaning could reply, Moran rushed over, eager to meet this so-called master of Chenlong chess formation. "Don't worry, uncle. I'll take Shizun." Chuaning cast him a glance, but said nothing, silent assent. The two strode out of the hall side by side. Shi Mei stood frozen in place for a long moment, face pale, before snapping out of it and saying, "Me too." But by the time he ran outside Loyalty Hall, they were gone. Zhuo Chengyong called him back and told him not to run off alone. All Shi Mei could do was go after Zhuo Meng and wait to leave with the second group. As for Bitan Manor, Li Wuxin had lived his life in luxury. Never once had he run into anything as big as this. But the old fart still wanted to save face. He drew in a deep breath to collect himself, then set about giving instructions. He had someone care for the messenger disciple, and others contact the elders of his own sect, gathering his forces in hopes of making a good showing at Butterfly Town and thereby regaining some dignity. The assembly set off from Xisheng Peak in force, rushing across the sky toward Butterfly Town like hundreds of shooting stars. From where Li Wuxin stood on his sword at the head of the fleet as they flew through the clouds, he couldn't resist stealing a sidelong glance at the disciples of the foremost sect of the lower cultivation realm. Never had he expected to one day march into battle alongside such riffraff, the very people he had looked down upon all his life. For a moment, his feelings were rather complicated. Traveling by swift sword, the group traversed 1,000 miles in a blink. Soon, the clouds before them parted to reveal a stream of bloody demonic light shooting straight up toward the sky, and Li Wuxin had no more thought to spare for matters of the upper or lower cultivation realm. Floating in mid-air was an enormous, glimmering array of crimson light, the length and breadth of the town itself, delineated neatly into the checkered squares of a chessboard. On that chessboard like so many carved figurines, hovered the silhouettes of the dead townsfolk, 500 households, over 1,000 souls, hanging in the air like a dense forest of human flesh. Li Wuxin cried out despite himself. It really is the Chenlong chess formation! Zhuge Qingyong, his expression dark, turned to the Bitan manor leader. Li Chuangshu, I'll take my people to the southeast side, but we'll have to trouble you to handle the northwest. We must hold out till the other sects arrive. There were more pressing matters at hand than Zhuge Qingyong's presumptuous use of we, so Li Wuxin merely nodded. Got it. Zhuge Qingyong cupped his fists in his hands respectfully, then led the disciples of Xisheng Peak out of the clouds to alight on the southeast side of Butterfly Town. The defensive barrier that Bitan Manor disciples had bled and died for was nigh on the verge of collapse, the field of its spiritual energy weakening by the minute. Beyond the translucent barrier roamed masses of walking corpses. Chuaning! Zhuge Qingyong caught sight of a man standing before the barrier in fluttering white robes, beside a figure in silver blue light armor. What's the matter? He called out. Is the barrier irreparable? Chuaning had been on the scene for some time. The number 1 Zongshe of barriers was standing right there. Zhuge Qingyong couldn't understand why this one was still in such a sorry state. But his calls raised no response. Zhuge Qingyong was about to try again when Moran turned and gestured for him to be silent. Uncle, come over here. Zhuge Qingyong walked over. What is it? Don't disturb him. Moran pointed at Chuaning. Although he stood straight and tall, his eyes were closed and his palms were pressed together before his chest, his lips completely colorless. Zhuge Qingyong started. He reached out to feel for a pulse at the side of Chuaning's neck, then asked in alarm. Soul projection? Yeah, it's all ghosts in there, a couple thousand of them. But we couldn't find Luo Xianxian, so she's probably farther into town. We don't know what's happening yet, or what that guy is plotting, so he went to ask Luo Xianxian. The girl is already a vicious ghost gone berserk. What's there to ask? Zhuge Qingyong smacked his own thigh in anger. Reinforcing the barrier is more important right now. Don't. Moran said sharply. Shizun temporarily casts his soul out using soul projection, precisely because it's all dead people in there. This way, he can slip in without alerting the enemy. If we reinforce the barrier now, he'll be killed. What? Zhuge Qingyong exclaimed, panicked. Stay right here and keep an eye on him. I'll go tell Li Wuxin. Moran nodded. I'll send up a blue signal as soon as Shizun's soul returns. Then we can start mending the barrier from all directions. But before that, uncle, you must under no circumstances allow them to mend it. If they do, the thousands of ghosts will go into a frenzy. Shizun is just a bodiless soul in there. He won't be able to defend himself. I know already. Before he'd even finished his reply, Zhuge Qingyong had already sped away toward Li Wuxin. Moran raised his eyes to look at that barrier on the brink of failure. You're running out of time. Moran turned and spoke to him in a low voice. You must have found Luo Xianxian by now, right, Shizun? In his worry, Moran reached out without thinking to close his warm hand around Chuaning's ice-cold one. Just a little longer. It was then that Shi Mei touched down nearby with Shu Meng and the rest. When he looked up from the crowd, he was greeted by the unexpected sight of the pair before the barrier, hands entwined. He froze, and the color drained from his face. He bit down on his lip and slowly turned his head away,